Hello, I'm Dr. LaDonna Osborn, and let's just take a moment to reflect on one of the important books that my father wrote, entitled Soul Winning. He published this book in 1963, and it looked like this. It was a small paperback book. And the passion behind this book was the vision that he had to bring the task of soul winning or evangelism to the ordinary believer. In the early 60s, soul winning was done by preachers, by the clergy, maybe by specifically called evangelists. But the ordinary Christian, called the layperson, never felt a personal responsibility to win souls. Of course, a lot has changed over the decades. But when you think how my father just was obedient, and he wrote this book for that purpose, and it was titled originally Soul Winning, Out Where the Sinners Are. And so the thesis behind this book was believers go outside the walls of the sanctuary and win people for Christ. You're called to do that. You're anointed by the Holy Spirit to do that. That is the primary task of the church. And so he presents that in a very profound way. We printed 125,000 of this original edition and mailed it to every preacher that we had their name and address all over the world. And it's this book that really began the revival of lay evangelism, of believers going out into their communities, on their jobs, with their families, and witnessing of Christ and bringing people to a decision for Christ. So many ministries today were really launched through that free edition that they got in the mail. For example, you may know the name Benson Adesola. He's from Nigeria. He was a student at Christ for the Nations, the Bible training center founded by Gordon and Frida Lindsay in Dallas. You know their names, you know their ministries. And Benson Adesola was a young Nigerian student at Christ for the Nations. 2 weeks before his graduation, he got a hold of this book. And when he read it, he said, "A fire burned in my bones." And he told Brother Lindsay, "I've got to go back to my people and evangelize." Now, Brother Lindsay was gracious. He saw the gift of God in this young man, and he released him and went ahead and later gave him his diploma. And Benson went back to Nigeria, and that was the beginning of an enormous ministry that continues today, even after his passing, under the leadership of his wife. Thousands of churches, clinics, hospitals, universities, schools, everything that is continuing the supreme task of evangelism. That's just one ministry launched by one copy of this book. Now, new things are happening with this book. I'll tell you more later, but I wanted to just take time to give you a little bit of the history, how God used my father and this ministry through these decades to transform the thinking and the activity of the Christian community so that they are doing the work of Christ. Now, as far as my records, this book is in 19 languages, scattered all over the world, continue to do its work. So be updated and be part of this history with us.